and the autoclave in OR7 failed at 6:47 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Sarah Morales had been on shift for 2 hours, scrubs already sticking to her back, hair in a bun that would give up by noon. She didn't have time to wait for maintenance, but protocol was clear: equipment down, surgery canceled, patient waiting, pressure rising. Oliver Park came up from the basement with a toolbox and that irritating calmness of someone who never rushes. He diagnosed the problem in 90 seconds, pressure valve, but as he worked, he noticed something off. Sarah apologized 4 times for calling him, for being in the way, for standing too close, for breathing near the problem. When the machine rumbled back to life, she muttered, "Thank you," while studying the floor tiles. Oliver packed his tools slowly, deliberately. "You don't need to thank me for making your job work." Sarah finally looked up, tired, suspicious, but with something resembling relief breaking through. "Everyone acts like I should be grateful just to be here." He didn't answer, just logged the equipment number and left. But Sarah noticed. He glanced back once before the door closed. 3 days later, everything changed. Monday morning, Sarah's hand froze halfway to her locker door. Supervisor Randall Kemp stood 3 feet behind her, clipboard pressed against his white shirt, reading glasses dangling from his pocket like a judicial pendulum. The locker room smelled of disinfectant and old coffee. 2 other technicians stopped mid-conversation. "Ms. Morales, I need to speak with you about your I-9 form." The fluorescent lights hummed. Sarah felt her throat tighten. She turned slowly, manufactured smile already in place, the one she'd perfected over 11 years of being careful. "Of course. When would you—" "Today, 9 a.m., HR Conference Room B." He made a note on the clipboard. Didn't look up. "Bring any supporting documentation you have. Birth certificate, social security card, that sort of thing." Her pulse hammered against her collarbone. "I'll need to check my—" "Today," Kemp repeated, finally meeting her eyes. His expression was pleasant, neutral, terrifying. "Oh, and Sarah? Don't worry. It's just routine compliance. We're updating everyone's files for the quarterly audit." He left. The door swung shut with a soft hiss. Vanessa Liu turned from her locker, bun bobbing, decorative pins catching the light. "That's so weird. They never call individual meetings for—" "I need air." Sarah grabbed her bag and walked out before Vanessa could finish. Her badge swung from the lanyard, photo facing inward against her chest. Always inward. The emergency stairwell was empty. Cold concrete, industrial paint smell. Sarah sat on the 3rd step and pressed her palms against her knees. Slow breathing. In for 4. Hold for 4. Out for 4. Her therapist, back when she could afford one, had taught her that technique. 9 a.m., 3 hours. She didn't have a birth certificate that would satisfy them. She had a crumpled envelope in her apartment with documents from another life, another country, another version of herself who'd crossed a border at 17, with nothing but a cousin's address and a promise that everything would work out. 11 years. 11 years of apologizing for existing, of flipping her badge, of taking the graveyard shifts no one wanted because grateful people don't complain, of perfecting invisibility. The stairwell door opened. Oliver Park stepped through, tablet in one hand, toolbox in the other. He stopped when he saw her. "You okay?" Sarah stood quickly, wiping her palms on her scrubs. "Fine. Just needed a minute." Oliver didn't move. He had that unnerving habit of not filling silence with empty words. Finally, "Kemp's an asshole." Despite everything, Sarah almost laughed. "He's just doing his job. His job is supervising sterilization, not making you look like you're being interrogated." Oliver set down the toolbox. "I was coming to fix the light in here anyway, flickering for weeks. You want company, or you want me to come back?" It was the way he asked, like both answers were equally fine, that made Sarah's chest ache. She'd learned not to trust kindness. Kindness asked questions. Kindness got too close. Kindness eventually wanted something back. But Oliver just stood there, tablet screen dim. Expression calm. Waiting. "You can stay," she heard herself say. He nodded and opened the electrical panel, and Sarah realized with cold clarity, someone had noticed her. Someone was paying attention. The meeting was in 3 hours, and she had no idea how to make documents appear out of thin air. If someone told you that existing required permission, and one mistake could erase 11 years of survival, would you trust anyone enough to stay? Subscribe and join us, because this story goes deeper than you think, and we need your support to keep bringing these voices to light. The autoclave in OR7 had been making a grinding noise for 2 weeks. Sarah reported it 4 times. Maintenance kept pushing it down the priority list. Still functional, just loud. But on Thursday morning, mid-cycle, it seized completely. Red error light, surgery delayed, surgeon furious. Sarah called the basement extension. Equipment failure, OR7, autoclave unit C14. Be there in 5. Oliver's voice, steady as always. He arrived in 4 minutes. Navy maintenance uniform, thin-framed glasses slightly fogged from the temperature difference between the basement and the surgical floor. He didn't ask what happened. Just opened the control panel and started running diagnostics. Sarah hovered. "I reported it last week, and the week before. I'm sorry. I should have... You did your job." Oliver unscrewed the pressure valve casing. "They ignored you. That's on them, not you." The surgeon passed by, glared at both of them, said nothing. Sarah felt her shoulders hunch automatically. Oliver didn't seem to notice the glare. He replaced a gasket, recalibrated the pressure sensor, ran a test cycle. The machine hummed back to life. "Should hold until they approve a full parts order," he said, packing his tools. "But if it acts up again, call me directly. Extension 4401. Skip the request queue." Sarah blinked. "I can't just..." "You can." Oliver closed the panel. "Equipment failure stops surgeries. That's a priority. Kemp doesn't get to decide otherwise." He left before she could thank him. Sarah stood alone in the sterilization bay, staring at the now-functioning autoclave. Extension 4401. She typed it into her phone, deleted it, typed it again, kept it. Sarah's alarm went off at 4:30 a.m. She showered in 3 minutes. Water pressure in the building was terrible, and she shared the bathroom with 2 other tenants. Her room was barely large enough for a twin mattress and a plastic dresser. The crumpled envelope sat in the bottom drawer, beneath folded scrubs. She took the Q46 bus, headphones in, eyes down. The city was still half asleep. Queens at dawn was a specific kind of tired. Bodegas opening, delivery trucks idling, people heading to jobs that started before the sun cared. At the hospital, she swiped her badge at 5:48 a.m., 12 minutes early. Always early. Lateness drew attention. In the locker room, Vanessa was already there, enthusiastic as ever despite the hour. "Sarah! Oh my God, did you hear? They're doing I-9 audits on everyone in our department. My friend in scheduling said it's because of some new compliance thing." Sarah's stomach dropped. "Everyone?" "Yeah. Random checks. Super annoying." Vanessa pulled her hair into a bun. "I had mine last month. Took like 5 minutes. You'll be fine." Sarah nodded, not trusting her voice. If it was department-wide, maybe Kemp wasn't targeting her specifically. Maybe she was just paranoid. Or maybe everyone else had papers that would pass inspection. "I'm sure it's nothing," Vanessa continued, oblivious to Sarah's tension. "Just bureaucracy being bureaucratic, you know?" "Yeah." Sarah forced the smile back into place. "Just bureaucracy." She changed into her scrubs quickly, avoiding eye contact. In the prep room, she bumped into a surgical tray, knocked a clamp onto the floor. "Sorry." At the sterilization station, she needed to reach past another technician for the UV log. "Sorry, excuse me." During the shift briefing, her phone buzzed. She silenced it quickly. "Sorry." By 7 a.m., She'd apologized 4 times. For existing in spaces she had every right to occupy. Oliver showed up at 7:15 to recheck the autoclave he'd fixed days earlier. Routine follow-up. He didn't mention the upcoming meeting, probably didn't even know about it. Just ran a quick diagnostic, logged it, nodded at her once, and left. Sarah watched him go, and wondered what it felt like to move through the world without constantly calculating risk. Without apologizing for breathing. By 8:45, her hands were shaking. She washed them twice, checked her reflection. Badge flipped inward, hair neat, smile ready. Conference room B was down the hall. 3 hours had felt like 3 minutes. Tuttuper. Oliver Park learned early that silence was safer than action. He was 8 when his mother came home from the dry cleaning shop with a bruise on her cheek. A customer had accused her of ruining a dress, threw it in her face, called her things Oliver didn't fully understand yet, but knew were bad. His mother didn't report it, didn't fight back, just came home, made dinner, and told Oliver in Korean, "Don't make trouble. Trouble finds us even when we're quiet." He was 16 when a teacher mispronounced his name deliberately, repeatedly, for laughs. Oliver never corrected him. His mother said, "You have good grades. That's what matters. Don't make them notice you." He was 23, newly hired at the hospital, when he overheard a surgeon berate a Filipino nurse for an accent the surgeon found unprofessional. Oliver said nothing. Fixed the surgical lamp the surgeon complained about. Left. He built a career out of fixing things. Equipment didn't argue, didn't judge, didn't require him to choose sides. But something about Sarah Morales scraped against that carefully constructed neutrality. The way she apologized for things that weren't her fault. The way she flinched when people raised their voices, even in casual conversation. The way her hospital badge was always flipped inward, like she was trying to erase her own name. He recognized it. That hypervigilance. That constant small-scale bracing for impact. His mother had moved to Oregon 3 years ago. Remarried. Safe now. But Oliver still heard her voice every time he considered speaking up. Don't make trouble. Except Sarah Morales was in trouble, and Kemp's routine audit was anything but. Oliver sat in the basement workshop, tablet open to the hospital's HR request portal. He stared at the anonymous reporting form. Typed, "Supervisor Randall Kemp may be targeting an employee based on discriminatory bias." Deleted it. Typed it again. Deleted it again. Closed the tablet. He didn't send the report, but he did add Sarah's shift schedule to his own maintenance calendar. And he started making excuses to be on the surgical floor more often, fixing things he could see, ignoring the things he couldn't. For now. Friday afternoon, the centrifuge in the lab started overheating. Sarah called extension 4401. Oliver arrived within 10 minutes. She watched him work, methodical, efficient, no wasted movement. He replaced a coolant line, reset the thermal sensor. Didn't ask her to move. Didn't make her feel like an obstacle. When he finished, Sarah said, "Thank you." Oliver paused, coiling the spare tubing. "You don't have to thank me every time." "I know, but it's my job." He looked at her directly. "You're not asking for favors. You're reporting equipment failures. That's literally what you're supposed to do." Sarah felt something twist in her chest. People don't usually see it that way. Then people are wrong. Oliver picked up his toolbox. "You work harder than half the staff here. Stop apologizing for it." He left before she could respond. Vanessa appeared from behind a supply shelf. "Okay, that was smooth. Is he always like that?" "Like what?" "Like calm and direct and kind of into you?" Sarah's stomach dropped. "He's not. We're just..." "Sarah, come on." Vanessa grinned. "He doesn't respond that fast to anyone else's calls. Trust me. I tried getting the autoclave in the annex fixed for 3 weeks. Vanessa, please don't..." Sarah lowered her voice. "Don't say things like that. People talk. And I can't afford..." She stopped. Vanessa's expression shifted from teasing to confused. Can't afford what? Nothing. Sarah turned back to her station. Just forget it. But Vanessa didn't forget. And Sarah realized too late. She'd said too much. Kindness was dangerous. Attention was dangerous. And Oliver Park, with his steady hands and steadier gaze, was the most dangerous thing of all. Because for the first time in 11 years, Sarah wanted to stop hiding. And that terrified her more than Kemp's audit ever could. The building's WhatsApp group was called 228 Residents. Important notices only. It was never used for important notices. Saturday morning, Sarah woke to 17 new messages. Rod Mendez. Anyone else notice the people in 4B coming and going at weird hours? Mrs. Chen, 3A. What do you mean, weird hours? Rod Mendez. Late night, early morning, different people all the time. Just saying, doesn't seem normal. Anonymous, left group. Mind your business, Rod. Rod Mendez. I'm just looking out for everyone's safety. We have a right to know who's living here. Superintendent should check their lease. Sarah's hands went numb. She shared 4B with 2 other women, one who worked night shifts at a diner, one who cleaned office buildings before dawn. Different schedules, different languages, same precarious legal status. She screenshot the messages, deleted the app, reinstalled it an hour later to check if there were more. Mrs. Chen, 3A. Maybe just ask them directly if you're concerned. Rod Mendez. I'm not concerned. I'm just saying the landlord should verify. Documentation. The words sat on her screen like a threat. Sarah started taking the long way home. Different subway stop, different entrance. She texted her roommates, "Don't answer the door if you don't know who it is." On Monday, she saw Rod in the building lobby. He smiled at her. "Morning. You're in 4B, right?" "Yeah." Sarah kept walking. Busy place, lots of activity. Sarah didn't answer, didn't stop. Unlocked her door and threw the deadbolt behind her. Her roommate, Claudia, was making coffee. "You okay?" Rod's asking questions. Claudia's face went still. "What kind of questions?" "The kind we can't answer." They stood in silence. The coffee maker gurgled. Outside, the city moved on, unaware, unconcerned. And Sarah realized the walls were closing in from every direction. The Boyne. Monday, 9 a.m. Conference room B smelled like stale air and anxiety. Kemp sat across from Sarah, HR representative beside him. A woman named Laura, mid-40s, professional smile, tablet open. "This is purely procedural," Laura began. "We're updating all employee records for the new compliance system. Nothing to worry about." Sarah's badge felt heavy. Photo side in. "Let's start simple," Kemp said, flipping through a folder. "Full legal name?" "Sarah Morales." "Date of birth?" She gave it. "Place of birth?" "Monterrey, Mexico." Kemp made a note. "And you came to the U.S. when?" Sarah's throat tightened. "I was 17. "On what type of visa?" Silence. Laura glanced up. "Ms. Morales?" I came with family. I'd have to check the exact paperwork." "That's fine." Kemp's voice remained pleasant. "Just bring it in when you can. We need a copy for the file." He paused. "You do have the paperwork, correct?" The room tilted slightly. "I'll need to look for it." "Of course." Kemp smiled. "No rush." "Well, actually, we'll need it by Friday. For the audit. Just a formality." "Friday. 4 days." Laura typed something. "And your social security number?" "We have one on file, but there's a flagged discrepancy with the SSA database." Sarah's pulse roared in her ears. "A discrepancy?" "Probably just a data entry error," Laura said. "Happens all the time." "Can you verify the number for us?" Sarah recited it. The number she'd bought for $800 from a man in a basement office in Jackson Heights 12 years ago. The number that had worked for 11 years. Until now. Laura typed. Frowned. System's still flagging it. We'll need to reach out to SSA directly. In the meantime, Bring in your card when you bring the visa paperwork. Okay. Kemp closed the folder. That's all for now. Thanks for your time, Sarah. She stood, legs shaking, made it to the door. Oh, Sarah? Kemp's voice stopped her. Don't worry. Like Laura said, probably just a clerical error. We'll get it sorted. Sarah nodded. Left. In the hallway, she leaned against the wall, breathing. 4 counts. Hold. 4 counts. The door to the maintenance stairwell opened. Oliver stepped out, stopped when he saw her. How'd it go? Sarah couldn't speak, just shook her head. Oliver looked past her toward the conference room, jaw tightening. What did they ask for? Papers I don't have. Her voice came out flat. 4 days. Okay. Oliver set down his toolbox. Okay, come with me. Where? Somewhere you can breathe that's not a hallway where Kemp might walk by. Sarah followed, because she didn't know what else to do. Oliver led her to the hospital's rooftop access, technically restricted, but maintenance had keys to everything. The city stretched out in every direction. Cold wind, gray sky. Late January in New York felt like purgatory. You don't have to tell me anything, Oliver said. But if you want to, I'm listening. Sarah wrapped her arms around herself. I can't get the papers they want. Because they don't exist. She looked at him sharply. He didn't look surprised, didn't look horrified. Just knowing. How long have you... I didn't know, Oliver said. I suspected, the way you flinch at audits, the badge thing, the apologies. He paused. My mom lived undocumented for 6 years. Different time, different circumstances. But I remember what it looked like. Sarah felt tears sting, blinked them back. I came here when I was 17. My cousin said there were jobs, said I could work, send money home. It was supposed to be temporary. It never is. I tried applying for things, legal things, but everything required what I didn't have. And then years passed, and I had this job, and I thought maybe if I stayed invisible enough. She laughed bitterly. Kemp's gonna fire me, or worse. He hasn't yet. It's only a matter of time. Oliver didn't argue. He just stood beside her, hands in his pockets, looking out at the city. After a long moment, there are lawyers, organizations, people who handle cases like this. I can't afford... Some work on sliding scale, some pro bono. He pulled out his phone. My mom used someone in Flushing. I can get you the contact. Sarah shook her head. Lawyers ask questions. Lawyers create paper trails. And if it goes wrong? And if you do nothing, Kemp wins by default. She had no answer to that. They stood in silence. The wind picked up. Sarah's scrubs weren't warm enough. Oliver shrugged off his jacket and held it out. She hesitated, then took it. It smelled like clean laundry, and metal, and something warm she couldn't name. Why are you helping me? She asked quietly. Oliver looked at her. Because someone should have helped my mom, and no one did. Because you work twice as hard as anyone else and get half the credit. Because Kemp's targeting you, and that's wrong. He paused. And because I don't want you to disappear. Sarah's breath caught. Before she could respond, the rooftop door banged open. Vanessa burst through, decorative pins jangling, face flushed from running. Sarah! Oh, thank God! I've been looking everywhere for you! Oliver stiffened. Sarah pulled away slightly, heart racing. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, I just... Vanessa stopped, taking in the scene. Oliver, the jacket, Sarah's red eyes. Her expression shifted from urgent to uncertain. Oh, am I interrupting? No, Sarah said quickly. Too quickly. Vanessa looked between them. Okay. Well, I just wanted to check on you after that meeting with Kemp this morning. You looked really upset, and I know those compliance audits can be super stressful, so I wanted to make sure you were okay. Sarah felt Oliver's gaze on her. I'm fine, just needed some air. Good, that's good. Vanessa shifted her weight, clearly picking up on the tension. Do you want me to leave? I can leave. I feel like I'm intruding. It's fine, Oliver said, though his voice was tight. I need to get back to work anyway. He picked up his toolbox, gave Sarah one last look, we'll talk later, and left through the rooftop door. Vanessa watched him go, then turned to Sarah with wide eyes. Okay, so that was intense. Are you two? No. Sarah pulled off Oliver's jacket, suddenly aware she was still wearing it. He was just helping me with something. With what? Work stuff. Sarah. Vanessa stepped closer, voice dropping. You know you can talk to me, right? If something's going on, if you need help with anything. I'm fine, Sarah repeated. The lie tasted bitter. Really? Thank you for checking on me, but I'm okay. Vanessa didn't look convinced, but she nodded. Okay. But if you ever need anything... She trailed off, clearly wanting to say more but not knowing how. I know. Thank you. After Vanessa left, Sarah stood alone on the rooftop, Oliver's jacket still in her hands. The city sprawled below, indifferent and massive. She felt small, exposed, and terrified that Vanessa's kindness, that constant, well-meaning concern, would eventually crack open the secret Sarah had spent 11 years protecting. She folded the jacket carefully and headed back inside. The countdown continued. 4 days until Friday. 4 days to produce documents that didn't exist. Sarah worked the late shift, double time. Needed the money, needed the distraction. By 10:30, the surgical floor was quiet. Sterilization complete. Equipment logged. She changed out of her scrubs, badge flipped inward out of habit. The locker room door swung open. Maria from scheduling stood there, arms crossed. So, Maria said, heard you're having some paperwork issues. Sarah's stomach dropped. I don't know what... Vanessa talks a lot. And people listen. Maria's expression wasn't hostile, just matter of fact. Kemp knows something's up. He's been asking around about you. About what? Compliance stuff, background, how long you've been here. Maria softened slightly. Look, I'm not here to cause trouble, but you should know. He's building something. I've seen it before. Sarah leaned against the locker. Why are you telling me this? Because my sister went through it. Different hospital. They dragged it out for months, made her miserable until she quit. Maria shrugged. I didn't help her either. Regret it. So I'm telling you. Watch your back. Kemp doesn't let things go. She left. Sarah stood alone in the locker room, fluorescent lights humming. The crumpled envelope of useless documents waited in her apartment. Friday was 3 days away. Kemp wanted papers she didn't have. And now he was asking questions, building a case. She grabbed her bag and took the emergency stairwell down. 11 flights, concrete and echoes. On the 5th floor landing, she stopped, sat on the step, let her bag drop beside her. For 11 years, she'd been so careful, so quiet, so invisible. And it hadn't mattered. Kemp had decided she was a problem, and Sarah had nowhere left to hide. The stairwell door opened 2 flights down, footsteps ascending. Oliver appeared, toolbox in hand. He stopped when he saw her. Rough shift? Sarah laughed, no humor in it. You could say that. Oliver climbed to her landing, set down the toolbox, sat beside her. Didn't ask what was wrong, just waited. Kemp's been asking about me, Sarah said finally. Maria told me he's digging, building something. Maria's rarely wrong. So that's it, I'm done. Sarah's voice cracked. 11 years, and I'm done. You're not done. Oliver, you're not. His voice was firm. Kemp wants you to quit. That's his play. Make it so miserable that you leave on your own, and he doesn't have to deal with the mess of actually firing you. Oliver turned to look at her. So don't give him that. What am I supposed to do? I can't produce papers that don't exist. No, but you can buy time. Oliver pulled out his phone. Let me text my mom. She'll have the lawyer's contact info. They'll know how to stall HR, what forms to request, how to push the timeline. And then what? Even if I stall, eventually is not now. Oliver's jaw tightened. My mom waited 6 years, worked under the table, lived in constant fear. And then she found help. People who knew how to navigate the system. It took 3 more years. But she got her green card. It's not impossible. Your mom got lucky. Maybe. But she also didn't give up. Sarah looked at him. At the stubborn set of his shoulders. The way he refused to accept defeat on her behalf. Why do you care so much? Oliver was quiet for a long moment. Then, because watching people suffer in silence is how I was raised. My mom never fought back, never spoke up, and I learned that lesson too well. He met her eyes. I'm tired of being quiet, and you deserve better than living in fear. Sarah felt something crack open in her chest. Tears spilled over before she could stop them. She covered her face with her hands, shoulders shaking. Oliver didn't tell her not to cry. Didn't offer empty comfort. Just sat beside her in the cold stairwell while she broke. When she finally quieted, he handed her a clean shop rag from his toolbox. It's clean, I promise. She laughed despite herself, wiped her face. This is pathetic. It's human. Sarah folded the rag, held it. Okay, I'll talk to the lawyer. Good. But Oliver, if this goes bad, if I lose my job, if they come for me. She swallowed. You should distance yourself. I don't want to drag you down with me. Oliver stood, offered his hand. Too late. I'm already involved. She took his hand, let him pull her up, and for the first time in 11 years, Sarah didn't feel completely alone. The lawyer's name was David Chen. His office was above a seafood restaurant in Flushing. The waiting room smelled like ginger and legal paperwork. Sarah sat beside Oliver. She told him he didn't need to come. He came anyway. David Chen was younger than she expected. Mid-30s, tired eyes, kind smile. He listened while Sarah explained everything. The expired tourist visa, the purchased social security number, the 11 years of cash payments and borrowed addresses and flipped badges. Okay, David said when she finished. First thing, stop panicking. You have options. I don't have papers. You have presence. 11 years of work history, tax returns if you filed with an ITIN, proof of residence, community ties. That matters. He pulled out a folder. Here's what we're going to do. I'll draft a letter to HR requesting a 30-day extension for you to locate your documents. That buys time. Meanwhile, we start building a case for you to apply for a U visa or explore other humanitarian relief options. U visa? For victims of certain crimes. If you've ever witnessed or experienced workplace abuse, discrimination, we might have an angle. He looked at her seriously. Did Kemp or anyone else ever threaten you? Create a hostile environment? Sarah thought about the 11 years of hypervigilance, the apologies, the fear. It's hard to prove. We'll work with what we have. David slid a contract across the desk. For the initial work, the extension letter and preliminary case assessment, there's no fee. That's pro bono. If we move forward with a full application, my standard rate is $2,000, but we offer payment plans. Most of my clients pay in installments over 6 months. Sarah's throat tightened. $2,000 might as well be $20,000. Even with a payment plan, her savings account had $900 total. Oliver spoke for the first time. What if someone else covers the upfront costs? Could Sarah pay them back over time instead? David nodded. That's between you two. From my end, as long as the fee gets paid, whether it's from her, from someone else, or in installments, the structure is flexible. Oliver looked at Sarah. I can cover it. You pay me back when you can. No interest, no timeline. What? No. Sarah turned to him. Absolutely not. It's a loan. Oliver, that's... Sarah. He looked at her steadily. Let someone help you. For once. Her throat tightened. She looked at David, at the contract, at Oliver, at the impossible choice that suddenly felt possible. "I'll pay you back," she said quietly. "Every cent." "I know." She signed the contract. David would send the extension letter today. They'd start gathering documentation for the U visa application. Sarah had bought time. Not freedom, not certainty, but time. Walking out of the office, Sarah felt lighter and heavier at once. A plan. She had a plan. But she also had a debt. And Oliver Park, maintenance technician with steady hands and stubborn loyalty, had just tied himself to her uncertain future. "You didn't have to do that," she said when they reached the subway. "I know. I'm serious. If this goes wrong, then we'll deal with it." Oliver stopped walking, turned to face her. "Sarah, I'm not doing this because I think you're helpless. I'm doing it because everyone deserves a fair chance, and the system never gave you one." She stared at him, at this man who'd walked into her life fixing machines, and somehow started fixing the broken edges of her world. "I don't know how to let people in." "I noticed." He smiled slightly. "Good thing I'm patient." The subway rumbled beneath their feet. People flowed past. The city moved on. And Sarah made a choice. Terrifying. Necessary. "I'm undocumented," she said. Out loud. To another person. The words she'd never spoken directly, only danced around. "That's what I am. That's my truth." Oliver didn't flinch. Didn't step back. Just held her gaze. "Okay," he said simply. "Thank you for trusting me." And Sarah felt something shift. Not the fear leaving, but the loneliness. For the first time in 11 years, someone knew. And stayed. Tafisarin. David's extension letter worked. HR granted 30 days. Kemp looked furious, but couldn't argue with legal counsel involvement. Sarah had time. Not much, but enough. She fell into a rhythm. Work, appointments with David, avoid Vanessa's guilty apologies, ignore Rod's loaded questions in the building lobby. Oliver became a constant, walking her to the subway after late shifts, bringing an extra coffee, texting her legal resource links he found online. "You don't have to keep doing this," Sarah said one evening. They were sitting in a 24-hour diner near the hospital, splitting fries neither of them was really eating. "Doing what?" "Checking on me. Helping. Being..." She gestured vaguely. "Whatever this is." Oliver stole a fry. "This is me having dinner with someone I like. Is that not allowed?" "I'm a liability." "You're a person. A person who might get deported." "Might. Not definitely." He met her eyes. "And even if the worst happens, it doesn't erase the fact that you're here now. That you matter now." Sarah's chest ached. "You don't know me well enough to say that." "Then let me know you better." It should have sounded like a line. But Oliver's voice held only sincerity. No expectation. Just offer. "I'm not good at this," Sarah admitted. "Letting people close. It's safer alone." "Safer," Oliver agreed. "But lonelier." She couldn't argue with that. Over the next 2 weeks, Sarah learned things about Oliver she hadn't expected. He texted his mother every Sunday, in Korean, which she didn't speak anymore but still read. He'd wanted to be an engineer but couldn't afford the degree, so he taught himself through night classes and YouTube. He kept a succulent plant on his basement workbench that somehow thrived despite zero natural light. His favorite meal was instant ramyun with an egg, which his mother made for him growing up when money was tight. He learned things about Sarah, too. She sent money home to her younger brother every month so he could finish school. She'd taught herself English, watching telenovelas with subtitles. She used to love drawing, but hadn't picked up a pencil in years. Her favorite sound was rain on windows, because it meant she didn't have to go outside. Slowly, carefully, they built something fragile and real. But Sarah still hadn't asked the question that kept her awake at 3 a.m. If everything falls apart, will you stay? She was too afraid of the answer. 3 weeks into the extension, David called. We have a problem. Sarah's stomach dropped. What kind of problem? HR sent your I-9 to the Department of Homeland Security for verification. It's standard procedure when there's a discrepancy, but it means they're escalating. His voice was grim. If DHS flags the Social Security number as fraudulent, they'll notify ICE. How long do I have? Weeks, maybe less. Sarah sat down. She was in her apartment, alone. Claudia was at work. Outside, the city hummed, oblivious. What are my options? We accelerate the U visa application, but that's a long shot. Or, David hesitated. You could consider voluntary departure. Leave before they deport you, which means you might be eligible to return legally someday. Leave. It's not ideal, but it keeps your record cleaner. Sarah ended the call, stared at the crumpled envelope in her drawer, at the hospital badge on her dresser, photo still facing inward out of habit. 11 years. And it came down to this. Leave on her own terms, or wait for them to force her out. She didn't tell Oliver right away, didn't tell anyone, just went to work, did her job, pretended the world wasn't ending. But 3 days later, Oliver cornered her in the sterilization bay. You're avoiding me. I'm working. Sarah. His voice was gentle. Talk to me. She shook her head. If she started talking, she'd cry. And she was so tired of crying. Oliver waited, that infinite patience of his. Finally, DHS is involved. David says I should consider leaving. Oliver's expression didn't change, but his jaw tightened. What do you want to do? It doesn't matter what I want. It's the only thing that matters. Sarah looked at him. At this man who'd shown up again and again, asking nothing, offering everything. I don't want to go, but I don't know how to stay. Then we figure it out. We? The word came out sharper than intended. Oliver, this isn't your fight. You've already done too much. If they find out you helped me, I don't care. You should care. You could lose your job, your reputation. And for what? Some undocumented woman you barely know? I know you. Oliver stepped closer. I know you work harder than anyone here. I know you send money home to your brother every month even when you can barely pay rent. I know you flip your badge because you're trying to disappear, but you shouldn't have to. I know you deserve better than this. His voice dropped. And I know I'm not letting you face it alone. Sarah's vision blurred. Why? Because someone should have fought for my mom, and no one did. And I won't make that mistake again. She broke, stepped forward and let him hold her, let herself be held, and whispered the question she'd been too afraid to ask. If I have to leave, will you stay? Oliver pulled back just enough to look at her. I'm not going anywhere. But if I'm not here, then I'll wait. His voice was steady. Final. However long it takes. Sarah kissed him. Desperate and messy and real. Oliver kissed her back, hands careful on her face, like she was something precious. When they broke apart, she whispered, I don't want to leave. Then don't. Not yet. We fight this as long as we can. Sarah nodded and made a choice. She wouldn't run, not until she absolutely had to. If you're still with us, you know this is about more than documents. Subscribe, because this story is far from over, and we need you here for what comes next. Rod Mendez had lived in the building for 14 years, knew everyone's business, took pride in it. When Sarah started using the back entrance and varying her schedule, he noticed. Funny, he said one morning, intercepting her in the lobby. You used to come home same time every day. Now it's all random. Sarah forced a smile. Work schedule changed. Uh-huh. Rod leaned against the mailboxes. You and your roommates, all so busy, all so careful. We're just living our lives. Sure, of course. He smiled. Just seems like people who have nothing to hide don't usually act like they're hiding something. Sarah's pulse spiked. Is there something specific you want to ask me? Nope. Just making conversation. Rod straightened. Superintendent's been asking about 4B, though. Lease verification. Normal stuff. It wasn't normal. And they both knew it. Sarah climbed the stairs to her apartment. Locked the door. Texted Claudia. Rod talked to the super about us. Claudia replied immediately. We need to move. But moving required a lease, deposits, references. Things none of them had. They were trapped in a building where a bored neighbor had decided they were suspicious. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. Lay in bed listening to the building settle. Every footstep in the hall made her tense. Every knock on a nearby door sent adrenaline spiking. This was her life, fear in layers. Kemp at work, DHS in the background, Rod in her building, the world closing in from every direction. Her phone buzzed. Oliver. You awake? Sarah. Yeah. Oliver. Bad night? Sarah. Neighbors making threats. Oliver. Want company? She almost said no. Then, yes. 20 minutes later, Oliver was at her door. She'd texted him the address weeks ago, just in case. He held a paper bag. I brought junk food and terrible Netflix options. Sarah let him in. They sat on her floor. The apartment didn't have much furniture. Eating chips and watching a Korean drama neither of them followed. Oliver didn't ask about Rod, didn't push her to talk, just existed beside her until the panic receded. At 2 a.m., Sarah said quietly, This is my life. Constant fear. Constant running. Is that really something you want to sign up for? Oliver paused the show. I'm already signed up. But for how long? What happens when this gets harder? When ICE shows up at my door? When I'm deported and you're here and... Sarah. He turned to face her. I don't have all the answers. I don't know how this ends. But I know I'm not leaving unless you tell me to. And even then, I'll probably argue. She laughed despite herself, wet and broken. You're ridiculous. Yeah. Oliver smiled. But I'm here. Sarah leaned against him. Let herself imagine, just for a moment, a world where she didn't have to run. Where home wasn't a place but a person. Where Oliver's promise to stay wasn't fantasy. She fell asleep on his shoulder. And for one night, the fear was quiet. HR called Sarah in again. Week 4 of the extension. Kemp and Laura, same setup, but the energy had shifted. Ms. Morales, Laura began, we've reached out to DHS regarding your documentation. They've indicated there are significant discrepancies with your social security number. Sarah's hands were folded on the table. Steady. She'd practiced this with David. I'm working with legal counsel to resolve it. That's appreciated, Kemp interjected. But in the meantime, we have a liability issue. The hospital cannot continue employing someone with questionable legal status. Mr. Kemp, Laura said sharply, that's not the language we use. It's the reality. Kemp turned to Sarah. You've been a good worker. No one's disputing that. But rules are rules. And if you can't provide proper documentation by the end of the week, we'll have to suspend you pending resolution. Suspend without pay? Sarah asked. Laura hesitated. That's standard protocol, yes. Without pay meant no rent, no money to send home, no way to afford David's services. Suspension was termination by another name. I understand, Sarah said quietly. We'll need your answer by Friday, Kemp added. Cooperate now, or we move forward with termination for cause. Sarah stood. Am I free to go? Laura nodded, clearly uncomfortable. Kemp looked satisfied. In the hallway, Sarah called David, explained the ultimatum. They're squeezing you, David said grimly, hoping you'll quit before they have to fire you. What do I do? Call their bluff. Don't quit. Make them fire you. It's better for any future legal claims. Sarah hung up, leaned against the wall. She'd fought so hard. And it wasn't enough. Oliver found her an hour later. Took one look at her face. What happened? She told him. Oliver didn't curse. Didn't rage, just said, "Okay, we escalate." "To what? I'm out of options." "Not yet." Oliver pulled out his phone. "I'm calling someone." "Who?" "A reporter. Friend of a friend. Covers labor rights." He met her eyes. "If the hospital's targeting you, we make it public." "Oliver, no. That'll make everything worse. Or it'll make them back down." His voice was steel. "They're counting on you being too scared to fight. Prove them wrong." Sarah stared at him. At this man who refused to accept defeat, who kept showing up, kept pushing, kept believing when she couldn't. What if it doesn't work? Then at least we tried. Sarah took a shaky breath. "Okay." Oliver made the call, and Sarah realized she'd stopped running. The reporter was a woman named Jenna Kim. She wanted to meet in person, hear Sarah's story, verify facts before publishing anything. They agreed on a coffee shop in Jackson Heights, neutral ground. Sarah packed her backpack the night before. Not for the meeting, for after. Birth certificate, diploma, the crumpled envelope, photo of her brother, one change of clothes, her hospital badge. If everything fell apart, if Jenna's article triggered ICE, if Kemp escalated, if DHS moved faster than David anticipated, Sarah would run. She'd researched buses to Canada, cash tickets, anonymous travel, a plan Z she hoped she'd never use. Claudia found her packing. "You're leaving. Just in case." "Sarah." Claudia sat on the edge of the bed. "You don't have to do this alone." "I'm not. Oliver's helping. David's helping. But if it goes bad, I don't want to drag anyone else down." "You're not a burden." Sarah zipped the backpack. "I'm undocumented. In this country, that makes me a problem by default." "That's bullshit." "Maybe. But it's reality." The next morning, Sarah met Jenna at the coffee shop. Oliver came with her. Sat at a separate table, far enough for privacy, close enough to intervene if needed. Jenna was sharp, asked hard questions, verified everything. "If I publish this, the hospital will come after you. You know that, right?" "I know. And there's a risk ICE gets involved." "I know that too. So why go public?" Sarah thought about 11 years of hiding, of apologizing, of flipping her badge, of Kemp's smug smile and Rod's veiled threats, and the building WhatsApp group, and every small, grinding humiliation that had taught her she was less than. "Because I'm tired of being invisible." Jenna nodded, typed something. "Give me 48 hours. They left. Sarah's backpack felt heavier. That night, she couldn't sleep. Lay in bed running scenarios. ICE at her door. Deportation. Oliver at the airport watching her board a plane. Her brother's face when she told him she wasn't coming back. At 3 a.m., Oliver texted, "You okay?" Sarah, "No." Oliver, "Want me to come over?" Sarah stared at the screen, at the backpack by her door, at the life she'd built from scraps and stubbornness. Sarah, "Yes." He was there in 15 minutes, held her while she cried. Didn't promise it would be okay. Just repeated, "I'm here, I'm here, I'm here." And Sarah realized, even if she lost everything else, she had this. This one person who saw her, knew her, stayed. It wasn't enough to fix her legal status, but it was enough to keep her from drowning. For now, that had to be enough. Defredi. Jenna's article went live on a Thursday. Headline: Queen's Hospital accused of targeting undocumented worker in alleged compliance crackdown. It was fair, factual, named Kemp. Included the hospital's non-response, quoted Sarah anonymously as Maria R., but included enough detail that anyone who knew the situation would recognize her. The hospital's PR team went into damage control. Called an emergency meeting. Suspended Kemp pending investigation. Offered Sarah her job back with full back pay as a gesture of good faith. David called, excited. "This is huge. They're scared of the publicity. We have leverage now." Sarah felt numb. So, I get my job back. And then what? DHS doesn't care about a news article. No, David admitted, but we've bought time, and time is what we need. She went back to work the following Monday. The surgical floor buzzed with whispers. Vanessa hugged her, crying. Other techs nodded in silent solidarity. Kemp was gone, reassigned to a satellite clinic in Staten Island. Sarah should have felt victorious. Instead, she felt exhausted. That evening, Oliver found her on the hospital roof. Their spot now. You did it, he said. Did what? Survived another week? Fought back. Won. I didn't win. I just delayed losing. Oliver sat beside her. That's still something. Sarah shook her head. ICE is still out there. DHS is still processing my case. David says even with the U visa application, it's months, maybe years, before anything resolves. And there's no guarantee. She looked at him. I'm still the same undocumented person I was before the article. The only difference is now more people know. And the hospital can't quietly push you out. But ICE can. Her voice cracked. Oliver, what happens when they come for me? When all of this, the lawyer, the article, the fighting, what happens when it's not enough? Oliver was quiet. Then, if you go, I'm going with you. Sarah blinked. What? You heard me. He turned to face her fully. If ICE deports you, if you have to leave, I go too. That's insane. Maybe. You can't just leave your life. Why not? My job is fixing equipment. I can do that anywhere. My mom's in Oregon. I barely see her as is. I don't own property, don't have kids. The only thing tying me here is... He gestured vaguely. Habit, inertia. Oliver. Sarah's chest felt too tight. You can't uproot your entire existence for me. Watch me. I'm not worth that. Don't. His voice went sharp. Don't decide for me what you're worth. Tears spilled over. I don't want you to resent me. I don't want to be the reason you lose everything. You're not losing me anything. You're giving me a reason to actually choose something. To act instead of standing by. Oliver took her hands. My whole life I've fixed things from the sidelines, kept my head down, didn't make waves. And I'm done. I want to be part of something that matters. And you matter. Sarah sobbed, ugly and loud and broken. Oliver pulled her close, let her fall apart. When she finally quieted, she whispered, What if we can't make it work? Then we tried. Together. He pulled back just enough to see her face. But what if we can? Sarah looked at him. At this stubborn, steady man who'd walked into her life fixing an autoclave and somehow fixed the parts of her she didn't know were breakable. I love you, she said. First time. Out loud. Oliver smiled. I know. She laughed. That's not the right response. I love you too. He kissed her. Soft and certain. And I'm not going anywhere. For the first time in 11 years, Sarah let herself believe it. Thirsty. David called 3 weeks later. We have options. Sarah and Oliver sat in his office again. Same smell of ginger and paperwork. The U visa application is moving forward, David explained. But I also found another angle. VAWA, Violence Against Women Act. If you've experienced workplace harassment, we can argue for protection. Kemp didn't assault me. Harassment doesn't have to be physical. Psychological abuse, creating hostile environments, targeting based on national origin, all qualify. David slid a form across the desk. It's a long shot. But it's another avenue. Sarah looked at the form, at the questions asking her to detail every humiliation, every microaggression, every moment she'd swallowed her dignity to survive. How long does this take? Years, realistically. David's expression was sympathetic. Immigration is slow, especially now. But you're building a case, and the more avenues we explore, the better your chances. And in the meantime, you work, you live, you document everything, and you wait. Sarah left the office feeling like she'd run a marathon. Oliver took her to a diner, ordered fries. They didn't eat them. Years, Sarah said. Years, Oliver agreed. I don't know if I can do this. You've already done 11. He reached across the table, took her hand. What's a few more? With you? With me. Sarah squeezed his hand, held on, and made another choice. She'd stop counting days, stop measuring her life in extensions and deadlines and fear. She'd live, messy and uncertain and real, with Oliver beside her. De moi. DHS sent a letter 4 months later. Notice to appear. Immigration court. Date set for 6 months out. Sarah stared at the paper. Official seal. Her name in stark black ink. David was optimistic. This is good. It means they're processing. We can present your case to a judge, argue for relief. And if the judge says no, then we appeal. And if that fails? David didn't answer. Sarah called her brother, told him everything. He cried, said he'd wait for her, said he'd visit if she got deported, said he was proud of her. She told Claudia, who hugged her, who said the apartment wouldn't be the same without her. She told Vanessa, who cried harder than Sarah did, who apologized again for the gossip, who promised to testify on Sarah's behalf if needed. She told Oliver last. He read the letter, set it down, pulled her close. We'll get through it. You don't know that. No, but I choose to believe it. Sarah buried her face in his chest, breathed him in, solid, real. Here. I'm scared. I know. I don't want to lose this. You won't. He pulled back, cupped her face. No matter what happens in that courtroom, you and me, that doesn't change. Sarah kissed him, desperate, anchoring, and whispered, Promise? Promise. Mrs. Park called on a Sunday. Oliver was at Sarah's apartment. They were cooking, badly. Sarah's attempt at kimchi fried rice had somehow turned into soup. Oliver's phone rang. Mom. He sighed, answered. Oliver, His mother's voice, sharp and worried. I heard from Aunt Jin. She says you're seeing someone. I am. She said the girl has immigration problems. Oliver tensed. Her name is Sarah. Oliver, you can't get involved in that. You'll ruin your life. I'm not ruining anything. If she gets deported, what then? You'll follow her? Throw away everything here? If I need to. Silence. Then, you sound just like your father. It wasn't a compliment. Oliver's father had died when Oliver was 12. Heart attack. Stress from working 3 jobs. Good, Oliver said. Oliver, Mom, I love you, but you don't get to decide this. He looked at Sarah, who'd stopped pretending not to listen. Sarah's not a complication. She's my choice, and I'm choosing her. You're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's mine to make. He paused. I have to go. Oliver. He hung up. Sarah stared at him. You just hung up on your mom? Yeah, Oliver. I'm done letting fear make my decisions. He crossed to her, took the spatula from her hand. My mom lived in fear for years. It kept her safe, but it also kept her small. I don't want that. But your family, you're my family too now. Oliver kissed her forehead. And I'm not losing you to make my mother comfortable. Sarah's eyes filled. I don't want to come between you and... You're not. This is my choice, my line. He smiled slightly. Besides, she'll come around, eventually. Probably. Maybe. Sarah laughed through tears. You're insane. Little bit. Oliver pulled her close. But I'm yours. And Sarah realized love wasn't just about who stayed during the easy parts. It was about who chose you when the cost was high. Oliver had chosen. Again and again. Now she had to trust it. The court date arrived. Judge Maria Herrera. Immigration court in Federal Plaza. David wore a suit. Sarah wore the nicest blouse she owned. Oliver sat in the gallery. David presented the case. U-visa application pending. VAWA claim in process. 11 years of tax returns, filed with an IT-in. Letters of support from co-workers, character witnesses, the article about the hospital's targeting. The government's attorney argued, visa overstay, fraudulent social security number, 11 years of violation. Judge Herrera listened, asked questions, took notes. At the end, I'm granting a 1-year stay of removal while the U-visa application is processed. Ms. Morales, you'll receive a work permit. You are not to leave the country. You will check in with ICE every 3 months. Failure to comply will result in immediate deportation. Understood? Sarah's voice shook. Yes, Your Honor. The gavel came down. 1 year. Not freedom. Not permanent. But time. Outside the courthouse, Sarah collapsed against Oliver. He held her while she shook. 1 year, she whispered. 1 year, he repeated, and then we fight for another. David joined them. This is good. Really good. The work permit means you can stop using the fake social security number. You'll have legal status. Temporary, but legal. We build on this. Sarah nodded. Couldn't speak. That night, Oliver took her to a restaurant. A real one, not a diner. Sat across from her, held her hand. I know it's not over, he said. But tonight, we celebrate surviving. Sarah looked at him. At this man who'd paid her legal fees, who'd stood beside her in court, who'd hung up on his mother to choose her, who'd promised to follow her anywhere. I don't know how to thank you. You don't have to. Oliver. Sarah. He squeezed her hand. You exist. That's enough. She cried, again. But this time it felt different. Not defeat, not fear, relief, hope, permission to breathe. She had 1 year, maybe more, and Oliver beside her. It wasn't everything, but it was something. And for now, something was enough. Sarah got her work permit 3 weeks later. A small plastic card with her real name and photo. Legal permission to exist. She cried when it arrived. Oliver framed it, hung it on his apartment wall. She'd moved in 2 months earlier, after Rod's complaints finally pushed her and her roommates to scatter. Oliver's place was small, a studio in Astoria with better light and no busybody neighbors. Sarah kept expecting him to regret the decision. He never did. It's just a card, she said, staring at the frame. It's proof, Oliver corrected, that you fought, that you won. For 1 year. Then we fight for another. Sarah turned to him. You keep saying we. Because it is we. Oliver pulled her close. You're not doing this alone anymore. Get used to it. She kissed him, soft and lingering. I'm trying. Work felt different now. Sarah wore her badge photo forward, stopped apologizing for taking up space. When a new supervisor asked for her documentation, she handed over the work permit without fear. It was temporary, yes, but it was real. Vanessa threw her a small celebration in the locker room, cupcakes and bad coffee and genuine joy. Even the surgical staff who barely knew Sarah's name stopped by to congratulate her. You did it, Vanessa said, hugging her tight. I'm so proud of you. I didn't do it alone. No, but you did it. Vanessa pulled back, eyes shining. And you taught me something important. What's that? That helping means listening first, shutting up second, and only acting when asked. She smiled. I'm sorry I almost ruined everything. You didn't ruin anything. You cared. That matters. They hugged again, and Sarah felt something shift. The protective walls she'd built for 11 years were coming down. Not all at once, but brick by brick she was letting people in. That evening, Oliver cooked dinner. Actual dinner, not their usual improvised chaos. Bulgogi and rice and vegetables that weren't burned. What's the occasion? Sarah asked. No occasion. Just wanted to. They ate on the floor. The studio still didn't have a proper table. Sarah leaned against the couch, full and content, and impossibly grateful. "I've been thinking," Oliver said. "Dangerous." He smiled. "About the future. Your U visa application, the VAWA claim, David thinks at least one will come through, and when it does, you'll have a path to permanent residency." "Maybe. Probably." Oliver set down his bowl. "And when that happens, I want to be here. Not just physically here. I mean," he took a breath, "I want to build something with you. Real. Permanent." Sarah's heart stuttered. "Oliver, I'm not proposing. Not yet. I know you need time, but I need you to know. I'm in this. Long term. Whatever comes." Sarah felt tears prick. "You can't promise that. You don't know what's going to happen." "No one does. But I choose you anyway." He took her hand. "Home isn't Queens or Astoria or wherever we end up. Home is you." Sarah's breath caught. "That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. It's also true." She kissed him, deep and certain, and whispered against his mouth, "Home is you too." They stayed on the floor until midnight, talking about small things and big dreams, about Sarah's brother visiting someday, about Oliver maybe going back to school, about the life they were building from scraps and hope. And Sarah realized she'd spent 11 years hiding, running, apologizing for existing. But she wasn't hiding anymore. None. 3 months later, Mrs. Park called again. Oliver answered. "I want to meet her," his mother said. No preamble. Oliver blinked. "What?" "Your girlfriend, Sarah. I want to meet her." "Mom, I was wrong." Mrs. Park's voice was stiff but sincere. "Aunt Jin told me about the court case, about what she went through. I didn't understand before, but I do now." Oliver felt something unclench in his chest. "You don't have to." "I do. She's important to you." "That makes her important to me." A pause. "Will she come? To dinner?" "I'll ask." Sarah was terrified. Spent 2 days worrying about what to wear, what to say, how to act. Oliver kept repeating, "Just be yourself. Your mother hates me. She doesn't know you. She thinks I'm ruining your life." She thought that, past tense. Oliver kissed her forehead. "Give her a chance." Mrs. Park flew in from Oregon. They met at a Korean restaurant in Flushing. Sarah wore the blouse from court. Oliver wore the least wrinkled shirt he owned. Mrs. Park was smaller than Sarah expected. Sharp eyes, careful posture. She greeted Oliver in Korean, then turned to Sarah. "Thank you for coming," she said in accented English. "Thank you for inviting me." They sat, ordered. Awkward silence. Then Mrs. Park said, "Oliver told me you send money to your brother to help with school." Sarah nodded. "He's studying engineering." "That's good. Family is important." Mrs. Park's expression softened slightly. "I worked 3 jobs when Oliver was young, so he could have better. I understand sacrifice. I'm sorry for the hardship you—" "Don't apologize." Mrs. Park's voice was firm. "You did nothing wrong. You came here for a better life. That's what people do. That's what I did." She paused. "I was afraid. For Oliver. Afraid he would suffer like I did. But he told me. You make him braver." Sarah's throat tightened. "He makes me braver too." Mrs. Park studied her, then nodded. "Good. He needs someone strong." The food arrived. They ate. The conversation gradually eased. Mrs. Park asked about Sarah's work, her brother, her plans. Sarah asked about Oregon, Mrs. Park's husband, her life now. By the end of the meal, Mrs. Park was almost smiling. She stood to leave, then turned to Sarah. "You are welcome in my family," she said simply. "If Oliver chooses you, then I do too." Sarah's eyes filled. "Thank you." Mrs. Park surprised her with a brief, tight hug. Then she was gone. Oliver took Sarah's hand. "See? Not so bad." Your mom is terrifying. Yeah, but she likes you. How can you tell? She hugged you. She never hugs anyone. Oliver grinned. You're officially approved. Sarah laughed, relieved and exhausted and impossibly grateful. They walked to the subway. The city lights blurred around them. Oliver pulled her close. 1 year down, he said. However many more to go. However many more, Sarah repeated. And she meant it. Dröstöd. The U visa was approved 9 months later. David called screaming. You got it. Full approval. 3-year status renewable. Sarah dropped the phone, picked it up. Say that again. You got it. David was laughing. Permanent pathway unlocked. After 3 years, you can apply for a green card. Sarah, you did it. She did it. Oliver came home to find her sitting on the floor, work permit in one hand, approval notice in the other, tears streaming down her face. What happened? I got it. Her voice broke. The U visa. I got it. Oliver dropped his toolbox, pulled her up, spun her around. You got it. They laughed and cried and held each other in the tiny studio that had become home. That night, Sarah called her brother, told him everything. He cried, said he'd visit next summer, said he was proud of her. She called Claudia, who screamed into the phone, who said she always knew Sarah would make it. She called Vanessa, who cried harder than anyone, who said she'd bring champagne to work tomorrow. And then Sarah just sat, in the quiet, in the safety, in the knowledge that she had 3 years, guaranteed, legal, real. Oliver sat beside her. How does it feel? Like I can finally breathe. Good. He took her hand. Because I have a question. Sarah turned. Oliver was holding a small box. Simple. Silver. Her breath stopped. This isn't a ring, Oliver said quickly. Not yet. I know you need time, but this is a promise. He opened the box. A simple silver bracelet, engraved, Home is wherever we are. Oliver. I love you. I choose you. Every day, every obstacle, every fight. His voice was steady. And when you're ready, maybe next year, maybe in 5 years, I want to marry you. But for now, I just need you to know. I'm staying. Really staying. Sarah took the bracelet, turned it over in her hands, read the inscription again. I love you too, she whispered. And I'm staying too. She put on the bracelet. It fit perfectly. Oliver kissed her. And Sarah felt something she hadn't felt in 12 years. Safe. 2 years later, Sarah became a permanent resident, green card in hand, legal, permanent, real. She enrolled in nursing school. Oliver went back for his engineering degree. They moved to a bigger apartment, one with an actual bedroom and a table. Vanessa got promoted, sent Sarah a card, told you it would work out. David closed her case, sent a final bill marked, paid in full, congratulations. Mrs. Park visited twice a year, brought kimchi and unsolicited advice, hugged Sarah every time she left. Rod moved out of the old building. Sarah never saw him again. And Kemp? Retired early. Sarah didn't think about him anymore. 3 years to the day after Sarah got her work permit, Oliver proposed. On the hospital roof. Their spot. Simple question. Marry me? Simple answer. Yes. They were married 6 months later. Small ceremony. Courthouse. Vanessa as witness. Mrs. Park crying in the front row. Sarah's brother flew in from Mexico, his first time visiting. Sarah wore a simple dress. Oliver wore a suit. They exchanged vows in English and Spanish and broken Korean. And when the officiant said, "You may kiss," Oliver whispered, "Home." Sarah whispered back, "Home." The autoclave in OR7 broke again 5 years later. Sarah, now a registered nurse working in post-op, called maintenance. Oliver showed up. Older now, laugh lines deeper. Still wearing thin-framed glasses. Equipment failure? He asked, smiling. Yeah. You know how it is. He fixed it in 10 minutes, packed his tools, turned to leave. Oliver? He stopped. Thank you, Sarah said. For everything. He crossed back to her, kissed her forehead. Thank you for staying. Sarah touched the bracelet on her wrist. Still there. Still engraved. Home is wherever we are. Always, she said, and she meant it. If this story reminded you that documents don't define worth, that love is a choice made daily, and that home is built, not found, then it did its job. Drop a comment telling us which moment hit hardest. Subscribe, because stories like Sarah's deserve to be heard. And remember, existing is not a crime. Being seen is not a risk. You are enough exactly as you are.